I think the conventional models of addiction treatment in some ways keep alive the addictive pattern. And so I think that when it comes to addictive patterns, science has historically shown that it's difficult and perhaps altogether a daunting or impossible thing to recover from, thing to heal from. I think that when it comes to the context of what healing looks like, it's sort of a swap, one addiction for another. We substitute one thing and get the addict hooked on something else. And so to me, it's not healing, it's substitution. It's not healing, it's substitution. I think there is a lot of discovery, first-time discovery in some way by science and neuroscience as it concerns trauma. I think that historically, we may have not even coded it as trauma. And there's probably been both good and bad around that. Now we code a lot as trauma. I think coding it as trauma, defining it as trauma is a good first step. And then what we want to do is understand how it affects our nervous system and our perception and the connection between all three things, the trauma, the perception, and the nervous system. And I think science and neuroscience is only now coming to really better understand that. Part of our scientific model, in some ways, tragically has been that we have to have multiple studies before we can say with any degree of certainty that this is good enough. On one hand, that's been wonderful. On the other hand, it's been detrimental because it kind of postpones healing. And so I believe science and neuroscience is only beginning to tap into, in some ways, the deeper understandings, the more valuable insights around the long-term consequences of unhealed, unresolved, unreconciled trauma. Because the message historically has been, if you have pain, go ahead and do whatever you need to do to cope with it, which is both, I guess, an internal message as well as an external message. And we've done nothing in some ways other than cope with it, which is a good first step. And that's where most of us stay. It doesn't transform the pain. It doesn't heal. It doesn't move past it. And so we stay in this coping place, which often feels like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. And because that's the case, we oftentimes develop this pattern that stunts our growth. And so what we say in some circles of therapy is that until you've really begun to transform the pain, you are likely the emotional age of when that event occurred, or somewhere in the vicinity. Or when you started to, you're the age or the emotional age of when you started to deal with it in really numbing, ineffective ways. So you take, for example, you have a 15-year-old whose dad told him that he wished he was dead at the age of 7. At 15, he finds drugs and alcohol. And it works. Initially, it works. It does numb the pain. It does help to deal with the pain living in our perception of who we believe we are and what we're deserving of. And therefore, we say, man, this works. And the problem is, if we stay there for far too long, as it is in most cases, we actually stay 15 years old emotionally. We actually stay in a box. And what we've wanted to do, and what we still do to some significant degree when it comes to helping people, is we put them in a box and we don't tell them how to get out of the box. In fact, the message is it may be unsafe for you to come out of the box. And I'm going to say that based on all of the evidence that I've gathered in the last 20 years of working with others, 10 of those in my professional practice, staying in a box stunts your growth on multiple levels. It doesn't allow you to heal. It does not allow you to trust. It sure as shit does not allow for life to teach you what it can teach you when you allow it to. And so you wake up one day and you're 50 and your resilience to life, your ability to manage, cope with life and all of its ups and downs is that of a 15-year-old. And right now, I would say that that's the way we've dealt with pain. That's the way we've dealt with helping people with their trauma. We say, you're probably a danger to yourself or someone else, or both. So let's go find that box of yours. And then most of the time, they get put in the box. They believe they deserve to be in the box. And there's this like unspoken agreement that we're just going to throw away the fucking key. And then, in my opinion, in my professional and personal opinion, that's where a lot of the suffering begins and stays. Because we're in a fucking box. The ups and downs are now stunted. They're now limited. You don't know how to go through the valleys, and you sure as shit don't know how to enjoy the peaks.